Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chasing, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time, stay ready. 2 vets in the zone, keep the pressure real heavy. Big hits, big plays, yeah, we breaking it down. Truth rings in your speakers, every word is the crown. From the north side hustle to that southern flame. Midwest grind, west coast of the game. Sports talk kings, yeah, we wear that crown. Turn it up, let them know it's about to go down. Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chaser, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout.
It's about to go down.
Hey!
Yes. 2-5 is here. Sports reports disordered. In and out. I wanted to talk to y'all real quick. Do me a favor out there. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate. Do all the free things. Do all the good things. So I wanted to talk about some of these new jobs that are coming open this season in college football. We haven't got there in the NFL just yet, though. I got a couple of coaches on my list, but we'll get to that another time. So as we sit here, obviously it's no secret by now, Arkansas has come open over the weekend. Sam Pittman out after that 56-13 brutal beatdown to the Irish, right? Okay, so he went 32-34 at Arkansas. So it leaves you stranded thinking to yourself, what is Arkansas as a job? How successful can you be at Arkansas within the SEC? And you get a few answers, right? They've been to 3 SEC championship games in 33 years that they've been in the conference now. It's once every 11 years, if my math is correct. But then you look at that and say, what's that? There's nothing to be proud of. And I go, well, Ole Miss hasn't even made the SEC championship game. For example, a school that is probably on Arkansas's level. Now, obviously, they're a little higher in the food chain now because they have Lane Kiffin. So then I started thinking about, well, what head coaches could take over this job? And of course, there's Bobby Petrino, who's there as the offensive coordinator now in the interim. And I go, nah, there's too much there. I start thinking Gus Malzahn. I thought he was made for this job years ago, but then of course at his last stop at UCF, he had to get the hell up out of Dodge before he got fired. Now he's down at Florida State as the offensive coordinator. So nah. So then I ended up somewhere that I thought was worth exploring. Rhett Lashley, head coach at SMU, 42 years old, from Springdale, Arkansas, played quarterback for the Razorbacks once upon a time. And then I started thinking to myself, would you leave SMU to go to Arkansas? And there's many ways that you can look at this, right? Now, if you're looking at location, then I would say SMU wins easily. Dallas versus Fayetteville. Not Little Rock, but Fayetteville. But then when you think about that, you think about the hierarchy. In Arkansas, it's just you. Like Arkansas State's not on your level and everything else is FCS. So, but when you look at SMU, you're fiddle. You're like a fiddle, right? Because you got what? Texas, you got A&M, you got Baylor, you got Tech. Then you got OU coming in. You got Oklahoma State probably coming in. And then, you get to that tier of TCU, Houston, SMU. Is that fair to put those 3 together? So, of course, these 2 schools go back, to the Southwest Conference back in the early, back in when I was growing up, the early 80s, until they fizzled. So, SMU has the oil money. Okay, so that's great. George Bush, Eric Dickerson, all the branding and nostalgia that comes with that, Craig James. But then Arkansas has Jerry Jones. They have Walmart. They have Tyson's Chicken. Now, granted, a lot of that money is going to John Calipari. So now you have to weigh that. Am I going to get what I think I should get? Because Cal's going to get the money, right? He's going to get first dibs to go get his recruits. But then you say to yourself, well, Calipari might not be there in a few years. He's a little older now, and he hasn't been getting it done going back to his days at Kentucky since 2012. So how tired do you, or how quickly do you get tired of that? To where once Calipari is gone, obviously they're going to make another great hire name-wise, but is there room for you to get the football money? So then I started thinking to myself, okay, the ACC, and I know you've heard me talk about this, so I'm not going to get too far into it, but is the ACC going to exist in 10 years? And if it does, what will it look like? That's a hell of a gamble to take when the SEC is already there for you. So I'm going to just lean Arkansas, but I'm not opposed to hearing that SMU is better. So let me know what you think. Is Arkansas the better job or is SMU the better job? So I think it's interesting that Arkansas and Oklahoma State are open at the same time because the Big 12 is a little more secure than the ACC at this point. And the word on the street is a lot of the boosters were holding the money back, the NIL money back, because they either didn't trust Mike Gundy to go get the right players, or he just wasn't interested in that Dabo Swinney mold. Okay, so I'm going to rank Arkansas over Oklahoma State just because of the SEC tie. But then when I come back around, who else could be available for this job? I think of names like, Summerall, over at Tulane, but I've always had him pegged for Kentucky, who I think might come open after this year. Mark Stoops, we had the whole debacle a year and a half ago where he was going to go to Texas A&M, then he wasn't going to Texas A&M. They had a 4-win season. They just got smacked by South Carolina the other night. Oh, by the way, they're a 20.5-point underdog to Georgia this weekend. So I'm not saying that he's out per se, but he could be, because I'm looking at Iowa in the Big Ten, where he went to school. Kirk Ferentz running that course. After that game against Indiana the other day, they fought hard like Kirk Ferentz teams do, but it's just not good enough. So maybe he steps down after the season. Stoops goes there. Summerall to Kentucky. So where does that leave Rhett Lashley in this conversation? So if he chooses to go home to Arkansas, then SMU comes open and you got a few candidates. You got your Zach Robinsons, who seems to be in line for Oklahoma State since he went there. But then I started thinking, why not Jeff Traylor from UTSA? Why not G.J. Kinney? He's also in that Oklahoma State conversation, but he's at the head coach at Texas State right now. So there's a lot of ways that this could go, right? So as you look deeper into it, this is not over by any means as far as who's going to be the Arkansas coach and just being able to answer that question. Where does Colin Klein fit into this? He's the offensive coordinator at Texas Tech who, went to Kansas State, but if Kansas State don't get it together, that might come open this year. So it's just chaos everywhere is what I'm trying to get at. You know what I mean? But the last thing, right? Does Auburn come open? They opened up the season with that big win in Waco. But then the last 2 weeks, we know what happened against Oklahoma. We don't got to get into the refs, but we come back. And I'm telling you, watching Jackson Arnold play quarterback is literally like somebody cutting your eyelids off and giving you sleeping pills. That's where we are in his career right now. So, you still got Georgia. You still got the Iron Bowl. It's going to be a long season for Auburn. And I'd have never thought that Jackson Arnold was the right quarterback either. So with that being said, those boosters out of Auburn have shown that they don't mind paying $1 to get off a coach. So, so if Auburn comes open and you're, say, Summerall, do you hold back? And then, of course, there's the great white shark roaming around the perimeter, the one and only John Gruden. Where does he end up? Does he end up at Arkansas? Does he end up at Auburn if it comes open? But you can't even blink, because before you blink, Florida will be open. So it's going to be a hell of a chaotic offseason this year. But, real quick, to close that loop real quick. So I think Arkansas is the better job when it comes to SMU. I think SMU has the higher potential once realignment gets sorted out, because They're not even taking ACC TV money right now. They're just footing whatever expenses themselves for the first 9 years. So that tells you how deep the pockets go. They got a whole lot of daddy warbucks over there. But with that being said, Arkansas is in the right conference. You know, they're at the right level, because when you look at Arkansas, you're looking at Mizzou, you're looking at Ole Miss, Mississippi State is coming back around this year, versus SMU. You're hoping that North Carolina, Florida State, Miami, Clemson, and others stay put. So when you think about it on those lines, I think it's a pretty easy decision. But hey, I'm 2-5. We will be back tomorrow at 8:30 Eastern with a special guest, Jack Moore, coming in to join myself and Mr. Logical. We're going to be breaking down the NFL weekend, college football weekend, and then get into some other thoughts like should ties even exist. But hey, do me a favor out there. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things. Do all the good things. And as Mr. Logical would say, don't bring feelings to a fact fight. Love y'all.
Run this town, real talk only. No chasing, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time, stay ready. 2 vets in the zone, keep the pressure real.